So let's turn that off.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Okay, so I've turned audio on, and let's see, can you hear me? There is sound, but it's echoey. Alright guys, bear with us. We're trying to work this out. The system we were planning on using stopped working. So now we're trying a new system, and it's going to be exciting. Stay with us for just a minute. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so there's sound. And is there still sound? Okay. I think we may be in business. So let me see a lot of perfects and a lot of goods and a lot of yeses, so I'm going to go ahead and give a big thumbs up, and I'm going to introduce Laura. This is odd, I should come back this way, and of course Ollie. So we're here and we are live, and I think I'm going to go ahead and jump in because it looks via the chat that things are going well. So if the audio starts to drop out or the picture drops out, please type in and let us know. But if not, I think we'll just jump right in and get to it. So I'm here to answer your questions and hang out for a little bit, and we're going to have a good time and kind of do it all together and talk about whatever it is that you guys want to talk about. But we're also going to spend some time talking about A Single Needle, which is my newest release that's going to be coming out for pre-order tonight. Just after this with Ellusionist, and I'm very excited about this because this is the first thing that I've released in a major way for years, for a few years actually. I think the last major release I did was back in 2009, and since then it's been, I've kind of been traveling and lecturing, and I've done a few small releases through my website, but I haven't done anything like this. So I'm very excited, and we will talk about it, but first I want to jump into your questions, and I think I'm going to head on over to Facebook here, so if you bear with me for just a minute. And we'll pull up the thread, and we'll just start to sort through it. And if you want to do the same too, Laura, if you want to pull up anything and see what you have on your end. Let's see. Da-da. So, yeah, they are. Okay, good. So we've got, I've got a good question here from Confusion Magic, with a K, by the way, and a Z. That's like getting fancy. Who wants to know the basic outline of A Single Needle, and that's great. What would the audience see? So what's really interesting about this version of the needle swallowing, I think, is that it's simple. It's really stripped down. So what the audience sees is this. I take a needle, or a volunteer takes a needle, they look at it, and it's a real legitimate needle. If it was Ollie doing it, I would ask Ollie to take that needle and place it on my tongue. I would then swallow it, and I would show that my mouth was empty. I would then take a piece of string, and I would ask my volunteer to hold out their finger. I'd wrap the string around their finger, take the other end and put it inside my mouth, and I would slowly bring the thread into my mouth, getting closer and closer to their finger, which is strange and funny. Eventually, though, I would back away slowly, and the needle would pop out, tied to the string. And that's the effect. Good question. So let me pull up this other window here, see what else we got. So other than Houdini, what was my inspiration for A Single Needle? So I've been really obsessed with the needle swallowing plot for many, many years, since I was very, very young. It was one of the first magic tricks that I saw, and I didn't see it in person, but I saw a photograph of Houdini doing it. And it was such a strange, bizarre image that it conjures that I really started messing with it at a very early age. And a couple years ago, I was preparing for a few appearances in the Dominican Republic. This is back in 2010. And my full stage version of the needle swallowing is a 12-minute routine. It's very, very long. And when it comes to live television, you have 30 seconds, 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes if you're lucky to do something. So I started to look at ways that I could really strip the routine down and create something that would be suitable to perform in that kind of environment. And through a lot of experimentation and work, I kind of hit upon this idea, and I started to work it out, and in the process I stumbled upon, almost by accident, this neat thing that allowed me to kind of change the method, and that's where A Single Needle was born. Wow, got a lot of questions coming in, so let me sort through these here. Bear with me for just a minute. What do you got there? What else would I be releasing? I don't know. The question is, what else would I be releasing in the future if I would consider releasing more with Ellusionist? And I think the answer is yes. I'm always creating. I wrote a new show at the very beginning of this year, and it features a lot of new magic that I'm really excited about. Nothing that I'm quite ready to release yet, but yeah, I'm always working on new ideas, and I think in the future, yeah, there'll be more stuff. This is an interesting one. What drives me to pursue magic more and more? That's a really tough question, but I think for me it is performing for an audience. The relationship that I develop with an audience throughout a performance, that is something that is very exciting for me, and that's what drives me. Greetings from Venezuela. Hi, Venezuela. I love you too. Let's see. Scroll through a few of these. How much practice does a single needle take? It takes some practice. You know, it's for those of you that are familiar with the full version, and there's several different variations of the full version of the needle swallowing out there. I know that a lot of people perform and really like Steve Spill's version. I think a single needle is probably easier. There's a simplicity to it, not just in the effect, but also in the method. It's a very efficient and streamlined method. So it's definitely going to take some practice. It's not a self-working trick. It's not the kind of thing that you want to pick up and start doing the second that you open the package. It will take some practice, but I think it's a relatively straightforward method that I think is not going to be terribly complicated. Let's see. This is a good one. Is this a new concept for the needle swallowing, or is it the same way every needle swallowing trick is done? Yes, this is a new concept. There are several different methods for accomplishing the full version of the needle swallowing. This is different than all of them. And I think that's what's really interesting about this, is that the method is different, but also the framing of this version is different, because the string never leaves sight. In most versions, you swallow the needles, and then you swallow the thread, and then you pull the thread out with the needles on it. In this case, the spectator holds onto the thread, and so it's almost like they fish down inside and pull out the needle. And that, I believe, is kind of a new idea, or at least a new presentational angle for this. Good question.
Wayne, can I ask you?
Yeah, please, jump in.
Where do you feel that this trick is best staged? In a par environment, on a stage, or do you use it within your close-up?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I actually explore that a little bit on the DVD. This obviously works very, very well close-up, because it's so interactive. You're having a volunteer actually hold the string as you do it, so it's very personal. But at the beginning of this year, I wrote a new show, and I decided to take a single needle and put it in the show instead of my full needle swallowing routine. And it's something that I played in theaters, small theaters all over the world. I played it in Northern California. I did it in Australia, in Germany, in the Netherlands, and in Switzerland.
Wow.
And in small theaters, it works great. But in September, when we shot the video for A Single Needle, I was headlining 2 dinner theater shows at a casino, and we decided to perform A Single Needle during that, and just to see how it would play in front of a larger audience with just one needle. And I was shocked at the response. It played very well. We heard from people that were sitting in the balcony that as soon as the needle pops out of my mouth, the light hits it and you can see it. And that performance, we filmed it, and that's included on the video as well. So you get to watch you get to watch that and kind of see how it plays in front of a large audience, as well as seeing it performed in a more intimate situation. So I see, I think Brad has jumped in here and wants to know what I'm doing in the UK. That's a very good question. So I've been in the UK. I've been in the UK since the end of July, and we are filming the 2nd season of Breaking Magic, The Magic of Science, for the Discovery Channel, and we are just getting close to wrapping, actually. This is kind of a crazy time because we've been filming like nuts. I'm running on 0 sleep right now, and we have 2 days left to film. Tomorrow is the last day of kind of our links in the kind of opening of the show and everything that links all of the different episodes together. And then Friday, I have half a day of filming a few things out here on the street in London. And then we have our rap party. So we're just about done with 14 new episodes of Breaking Magic, The Magic of Science. And it's a very exciting time, but it's also very chaotic.
Do you know when it airs in America?
Yeah, so the new season of Breaking Magic, The Magic of Science, will air. It'll start airing in February here in the UK. In the States, I'm not sure yet. That's something that I'm probably not going to find out until, I don't know, until it airs, maybe. So sometimes the communication of when something's about to air is not really instant. So who knows? I don't know. I'll find out when you guys do. But I have heard that here in the UK and across parts of Europe, sometime at the beginning of February is when it's going to start airing.
Awesome.
And I also see that the full trailer for A Single Needle has been released on Ellusionist right now. So if you haven't seen it, head over to ellusionist.com and take a look at the full trailer. I'm really excited about it. This is, I mentioned earlier that this is one of the first big releases that I've done in a few years, and this is also one of the first times that I've been able to work with my very good friend and business partner Wayne Houchin on video. We kind of took a break from doing videos together because I've been traveling and doing other things, and he's been really busy producing music. And it was really exciting to work on this project together, and I think he did a phenomenal job with the production. The DVD is beautiful, and the edit and the performances are just really fantastic. So go on over and take a look at the trailer if you haven't done so yet. I think you'll like it. Let's see. I've got a few more questions here. Let me sort through a couple of them and just see.
There's a question. I can't see where it is now. I was going to raise it a minute ago. Somebody asked, do you feel the impact is stronger by putting all the emphasis on one single needle rather than having multiple?
Yeah, okay, so this is something that surprised me. So as I mentioned earlier, the idea for this effect really came from the desire to want to be able to perform a shorter version. But along that path, I kind of stripped things away and ended up simplifying the effect in such a way that I think it does play stronger. And I don't make that as a hard claim. That's not a hard statement. It's a soft statement. Because I would not have guessed that until I put it into my show. And friends and family of mine that I trust, that are not magicians, that don't know methods, but they've seen me do both versions. And when they saw the version with the single needle, they almost unanimously said that it was stronger. And they said it was stronger because it was a clearer image. It was one needle and one piece of thread, and it was fished out. And just, there's something about that framing that puts the focus on just this one needle. And I love the full version. Make no mistake, I think the full version, when I pull out 40 needles or 60 needles and I have that stretch all the way across the stage, it's really a fantastic moment. I think for the audience, but also for me, because in a way I feel like I'm almost kind of recreating that Houdini photo that I saw when I was a kid. He's stretching those out. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Speaking of Houdini, Laura just reminded me. So right now we are sitting in a private room at the Hippodrome Casino in London, and those of you that know anything about Houdini know that he once performed here at the Hippodrome. He quite famously vanished an elephant here. So oddly enough, in a strange way, this kind of worked out, and it kind of ties in with the effect. So we're here at the Hippodrome. That's neat.
I think one of the strengths about the single needle, like you're saying, with the clarity of it, the image is so strong.
Right,
that it creates such a bold and clear story in the spectator's mind.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the fundamental things when you're creating a trick, is to create such a strong visual that it just burns the story into their mind, because like we all do with good stories, they get passed on. And if you're creating good magic,
the simplicity makes it different
Yeah.
as well. It makes it simple, nice. It looks beautiful. It's different from any other I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think the element of danger against it as well.
I think I think and that's a really good point, because I think in magic we have a tendency to overcomplicate things, and I think that happens naturally based on how we learn magic. When we start learning magic, we learn easy effects, self-working card tricks, or things that are very, very easy to learn and very, very easy to do. And as we gain a little bit more experience, we start to learn effects that are harder to do. And as we gain a little bit more skill, we start to learn things that are even harder. And what that does is it kind of builds up this impression in our minds from a young age that the harder the effect is, the more complicated the effect is, the better it is. And that's not necessarily true at all. Sometimes the most powerful pieces of magic are the simplest. And it's exactly like what you said. It's because it's all about creating the story in the spectator's mind, the story that they're going to tell later on. And if you have a really complicated effect, that story gets a little bit harder. And I'm not saying that the full version of the needle swallowing is overcomplicated, but I do think that one of the reasons why a single needle is as powerful as it is because it's such a simple thing to understand. It's such a simple concept to wrap your head around.
I remember... Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say, do you feel that because it's a single needle, it works in a close-up environment as well?
Yeah.
Just as well. So,
absolutely.
Whereas you can't do the full version, really. I don't think close-up. It doesn't work quite as
you can.
Well. You can, but
it's difficult.
It's quite big. Reset. Is it something you can do again and again?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of the really nice things about a single needle is that the setup is kind of self-contained. And so when you perform the full version, depending on the method that you use, you do have a bit more things that you have to consider before performing. But a single needle is the kind of thing that you can set up easily. You can have it in your pocket.
Can you do it over and over? Can you do it a few times?
It would require a little bit of a setup, but not much. It's something that could be done relatively quickly. But you could have it set up in your pocket, and you could easily pull it out and do it. And yeah, I do feel like... if I was performing in a close-up situation and I had to perform a needle swallowing, one version or the other, I think I would choose to do the single needle just because of the fact that I can do this. I can say, hold out your finger, and I can have a volunteer hold the string wrapped around their finger as I put it in my mouth. It's such a playful, personal moment. Yeah, it really is a moment, and it works on stage when you're watching that. But close up, that makes it so intimate in kind of a really interesting, fun way. And I think that contrasts nicely between how strange the effect is, how seemingly dangerous the effect is, and then you have this nice playful moment with the volunteer. So there's something really nice about it that I think does work close up. Yeah. Did you see something else there?
Yeah, we've had a question from Sir Adam Wilbur. He's asked...
Sir Adam Wilbur.
Nice ring to that. Can you talk... It's gone now. There's too many questions for
Okay, I'll scroll up.
But he asked something about if you could briefly talk about the safety precautions.
Yeah, sure. So it's natural to wonder whether or not this is dangerous, because swallowing a needle is not something that I would recommend anybody does. There was something that I remember Houdini talking about, and I don't think it was in reference to the needle swallowing effect. I believe this was something he was talking about when it came to escapes. And I'm trying to remember now where it is that I read it, and it must have been in a biography. He must have been quoted somewhere. But Houdini talked about the importance of creating the illusion of danger while remaining safe, while being as prepared as possible. And that's something that has kind of stuck with me for years. So the point of the needle swallowing effect and the point of a single needle is you want it to appear dangerous. That's where it gets a lot of its power, is not only does it seem impossible and crazy, but it appears dangerous. It appears like you are risking something for the performance, and that makes it special. That makes it a special moment because there's something at stake. But I've done my best to make it as safe as possible, and I can say that it is absolutely possible to perform it safely with no injuries. And if you follow the instructions that are laid out in the video, I can guarantee that you're going to have a positive experience performing this. And that is something that I address on the video as well. I do offer a few different versions and some options that make it even safer than it already is. So while it has the potential to be dangerous, you are using real needles. I've done a lot of work to make sure that it's as safe as possible.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
You're kind of known for those kind of real those effects that are
the strange ones.
The strange ones, the ones that I feel that sometimes only doing it once at an event makes more of an impact than like for example thread. And whereas I know you said you could do this a few times, but would you say that it's better not to?
Absolutely.
To do it once at an event at that moment, the right moment.
Yep, I completely agree. Yeah, there is a right time and a right place for everything, and being able to know when that is something that comes with experience and I think maturity as well. But I think things like thread, things like a single needle, those are not the kind of effect that you would want to repeat over and over at the same event for the same audience. You want them to see it once and then to talk about it. You don't want them to see it over and over. I'll give you a quick example. This is it's not entirely related, but I think it does kind of make an interesting point. I was fortunate enough to have dinner recently with Andy Nyman. And those of you that don't know Andy is one of the most brilliant magicians in the world. He is one of the sweetest people in the world. He's an actor, he's a producer, he's a director, he's a writer. He's just such a talented guy. And I'm very honored to be able to call him a friend. So I was having dinner at his place the other night, and he had some friends over. We kind of had this movie night where we watched this ridiculous Italian film. But he had some friends over, and he had asked me before I came if I'd be willing to perform thread for them. And these are actor friends, so they're not magicians. And I said sure. So I came ready to perform thread. And we had this moment before the movie started where one of the people there asked, they had heard about the coin and soda can. And they said, I heard that you can do this crazy thing where you borrow a coin and somehow put it inside of a can of soda. And I said, yeah, that's something that I do. And he said, I don't believe you could really do that. And I said, well, I can. And he said, well, could you do it right now? If I went to the refrigerator and got out a can, could you do it now with my coin? And I said, absolutely. And so he turned it into a challenge, and we brought everyone into the kitchen, and he grabbed the can out of the fridge and gave me a coin. I had him sign it, and I did the coin and soda can, and they freaked. It was great. It was just such a nice moment. And we all moved back into the other room, and I realized at that moment that the moment had passed. The time for magic was done. There was this perfect, kind of natural, organic moment of magic where I didn't say, hey guys, let me show you something. Someone else asked me about it. They presented a sort of challenge. They got the can, and the magic happened. And I realized at this point we were moving into the other room to start the movie, and it would be so strange for me to all of a sudden say, oh, hey guys, let me show you one more thing and do thread. And so I made a judgment call that the moment had passed, and so I didn't.
Call as well. There's something you come from experience, doesn't
it?
You know when to
do something and when not.
And when not to,
yeah.
And
so
situation.
I didn't do thread, and what that did is if I would have done thread, it would have killed the moment and the momentum that the coin and soda can had, and that had carried over, and they were talking about it, and it was such a nice organic moment that I would have squashed it by moving on to something else. So yeah, that's something that comes, because I can tell you 3 years ago I wouldn't have been able to notice that. I wouldn't have been able to recognize that was a wrong moment to do something else. So that's something that comes with, I think, maturity and experience. So to jump right in, I see a couple more questions here. Do you need a certain type of needle? Yeah, but it's just a regular sewing needle. I talk about what size of needle to use. I talk about that on the video, because you want to find a size that works for the method, but also that's easy to see for an audience. So it's nothing that's going to be terribly difficult to find.
Thread? What about the thread?
Thread is just normal
Same?
thread. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It can be a polyester blend or cotton thread. There's nothing special about it. Okay, here's where would a person normally perform this? What setting is the trick meant for? It's a great question. I think birthday parties, 5 or under, I think.
Like all your tricks.
Like all my tricks, really, yeah. No, I think that depends upon the performer and it depends upon your style. This is the kind of thing that could work very well in a casual close-up situation. It's also the kind of thing that works well in a stand-up act. It's not the kind of thing I would do if I was doing table hopping at a restaurant where people are eating. No, probably not. I would probably skip that. But I think that depends upon your style and your personality. What formats will it be released? It will be on DVD and possibly on download. That's something that is still being discussed, so we'll keep you posted on that. But initially, just on DVD. How long does it take to learn it? Well, the DVD is about 40 minutes. About 40 minutes. That doesn't mean you'll be able to perform it after 40 minutes, but I'm really happy with how we structured the explanation. We spent a lot of time. We scripted the entire thing, and we shot it with 3 different cameras, and then shot some really nice close-up angles of all of the important details for the teaching. So it's extremely clear on the video. You'll learn the method fast, and I think you'll be really happy with it. It's something that's a satisfying method. You know, there's some magic tricks that you learn, and you learn the method to it, and it's almost disappointing. And I think it's almost disappointing because it's not real magic and you really want it to be. But there's something about the method to this that I think is really satisfying. It's fun. It's fun to do as a performer. So I think you'll enjoy it. It will take practice, but it's not like a knuckle busting type thing that you'll have to do. Let's see.
When you finish performing, do you hand it out to me?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Yeah. So, yes, I do let them keep it as a souvenir if they want, and not everybody does keep it as a souvenir, but some do. Mm. And there's a nice moment, and you see this on the video, on the performances. Hold up your finger. Yeah. So this is the position we're in. I eat the thread and then back away, and the needle's there. And I point out, I say, not only is the thread, or the needle threaded onto the string, it's actually tied on, and I let it hang, and then I shake their finger and I say, thank you, it was a pleasure meeting you. and they can keep it if they want to, or not.
Do you find people do keep it?
I'd keep it.
I bet you would keep it.
Yeah, but you're strange, and would you keep it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would. You're strange too. Yeah. You know, I expected more people to keep it than actually do, and that's something I don't know. I don't know what it is.
They leave it just on the table.
Yeah, they do, and I don't know why that is. It's probably because it's
sharp,
a gross object. But yeah, I expected more people to keep it, but I've been surprised at how many people kind of take it back with them and look at it for a few minutes and pass it around, but then leave it and don't actually take it with them. Maybe that's the normal thing. I mean, maybe it's strange to keep a needle that's been in someone's mouth. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's not an odd position to take.
Might make sense.
At least it suggests you're showing that it's not.
Yeah.
To leave it there. Yeah.
It's a genuine string and a genuine needle, and it's genuinely on the string. So
leaving anything with people is always going to be better, right?
Exactly, because
whether they keep it or not, it doesn't matter. It's there. It's not to take.
Let's see. I'm gonna scroll through a few of these here. So let's see what we got. I see a note from Ellusionist here that says
a giant cup. What is that?
All right. So the question here is, it just disappeared. So how many takes did it take for you to tell people that they should get a giant cupcake to perform this? That's going to make no sense until you watch the video. But there is a part in the video that involves a giant cupcake. And I really have no way of justifying that right now. So that's really there's kind of no exciting end to that story. But there is a giant cupcake that makes an appearance on the video. And it does play an important role. It makes an important point.
So it's not like you start with cupcakes and then build up to needles.
No, but I should have started with cupcakes. That's a fantastic idea.
Then you could take it to a kid's party.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Can you combine this with thread? You could create a routine that included thread and this. I'm not sure I would do that. I'd have to give that some thought. But there is something interesting, and I think I talked about this at some point during an interview a few years ago, but we talk about how magic happens in the mind of our audiences, and that's because what they experience is not necessarily what really happens. And I've got a kind of a fun example of that. Well, first off, to give you just a really basic example, if you know the Balducci levitation, when you do the Balducci levitation, you're floating about this far off the ground, okay? But because of the psychology built into the presentation, the audience swears that they see you float this high off the ground, at least, if not more. And that's what they remember seeing, and that's the story that they will tell. In their mind, you floated this high off the ground. And so that's kind of a quick example of what we mean when we say that magic happens in the mind of our audiences. So in one of my previous shows years ago, this was a show I was doing a lot, it's probably, I want to say 2003, 2004, I performed both the thread through the eye and my full version of the needle swallowing. Mm. And I was shocked at how often someone would come up to me after the show and say, that trick you did where you swallowed all those needles and then pulled them out of your eye was amazing.
Wow.
They had mixed...
Perception.
Yeah, they had mixed the two together. And that, I mean, even saying it now, it sounds so insane that someone would misremember it happening that way because it's so clearly a shockingly different effect. But in the mind of the audience, for those people, it was such a shocking moment for both of those things that they somehow had merged those two together. And because of the simplicity of a single needle, if you were to create a routine that involved pulling the thread through your eye, and then maybe after that performing a single needle, I wouldn't be surprised if you do have some people that kind of merge those together and misremember it happening that way. Let's see.
There's such a interesting tendency for people to completely exaggerate or tweak.
To misremember what happens, which is really kind of a great thing when you recognize it and realize it and you can use it to your advantage. Let's see. Scroll through some more of the questions here. A lot of interest in the giant cupcake. That impresses me. Okay, so I see a lot of questions about what happened in the Dominican Republic. And yeah, I don't mind kind of touching base on that and giving you guys an update. I know a lot of people heard about it. Oh, someone says, thankfully I'm still handsome. Oh, you should see me in high definition or in person. It's not.
It's very different.
Blurry webcam, I know. It's blurry webcam. It's, you know,
he
it's
is.
So, magic is interesting for a lot of reasons. But it's interesting because it has the potential to be powerful, and it has the potential to be very powerful. And there are some people in some cultures that really believe in magic. And I think that can be a positive thing, but it can also be a strange thing. And so I was in the Dominican Republic almost a year ago. I think in 2.5 weeks, it'll be 1 year since this happened. And going to the Dominican Republic is something that I've been doing for 3 or 4 years now with a group of magicians. We've branded ourselves there Curiosidades, which means curiosities in Spanish. And it is me, Lee Asher, Aaron Fisher, Danny Garcia, Armando Lucero, Jason Wethington, BJ Bueno. It's a whole group of us, and we have some people come out. We have even a few other guys that come out, depending upon people's schedules. We all try to get together in the Dominican Republic to perform magic because there's really not much of a magic scene there. There's not a lot of working magicians. You don't see magic on TV. And so we realized this, and we decided we could go out there and do some good. And so every year we go out and we do a series of TV appearances, at least a dozen, sometimes up to 20, and we promote some kind of public event. 1 year we did a large live show. The next year we did a public stunt. My wife and I did a dual straitjacket escape with 2 cranes, and we were both lifted up and we escaped from straitjackets. and we also did a talk on magic and the art of magic and kind of where it evolved from. We did that at the university in Santo Domingo. And so last year we were doing a series of TV performances, and we were doing an appearance on this one show, and the show was kind of an odd show. The host of the show was kind of telling people what their horoscopes would be, and he was kind of rolling dice and tossing them and kind of interpreting that to mean certain things. And so it was a show where I think he genuinely believed that he had some sort of supernatural ability. Mm-hmm. And so we appeared on the show, and we did some magic. And after the appearance, I performed Thread on it. And after we were done, he said that before we left, he wanted to give us a blessing. And so we said, sure. And one of the things about being on TV, even live television, is you trust the host to a certain extent because they're the host of the show. You know what I mean? So you trust them to carry the show and to be entertaining. That's their job. And so he said that he wanted to give us a blessing. We're in a foreign country. We said, yes, yeah, sure. You know, it's kind of an honor. And he took a handful of liquid, and he took a lighter, and he handed it to BJ, and he said, light it. And he's got this handful of liquid. And BJ kind of gives a look, and he's okay, and he lights it. And if you've ever seen like high proof alcohol when it's on fire, like if you take a shot of like 151 or so, yeah, and you light it on fire, it has a thin blue flame, and it just kind of, the top of it just kind of lightly burns. That's what it looked like. Mm. And so the host had that in his hands, a whole handful of that liquid, and he turned and he said something to the camera, and then without warning, he turned to me, and he dropped it on my head and pushed it into my face. And of course, as the liquid fell, it completely erupted into flames, and he set me on fire.
Was it deliberate?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was badly burned. I was rushed to the hospital, and I had first and second degree burns on my face and my hand and across my wrist. And I was very fortunate because we had such a wonderful team there with us that we were able to get to a hospital quickly. And I had a great doctor out there, a great dermatologist who treated me. And that was an experience because when you're burned, the skin, to protect itself, wants to, it's kind of gross, but it wants to scab over to protect from infection. But when it scabs over, the skin underneath doesn't heal properly, and that's how you get scarred. So what you have to do is every other day I would go into the doctor, and she would use tweezers to peel the skin on my face and my hands. She would peel it all away, and it would bleed, and it was excruciatingly painful. But that's what allowed the new skin to heal correctly. And so now I have a scar on my wrist, and when my skin gets wet on my face, you can kind of make out the red spots of the skin. There's a little bit that shows up when my skin's wet or when I'm really, really cold. But other than that, you can't tell. And so I healed very well. And the Attorney General in the country is pressing criminal charges against the guy who did it. And then,
I guess he's not on TV anymore.
No, his show was canceled. and so, but it's the Dominican Republic, and this is what's so surreal about this situation. I love the country, and the people there in the country were outraged when this happened. I mean, people would stop me in cabs and on the street after it happened, and they would apologize. They were so upset that this had happened in their country. But when we went to court, before we left the country, the guy who did it fled. He left and went to New York when we got the arrest warrant issued for him. And so before I left the country, myself, my wife, and BJ went to give our testimony in front of a judge to have it recorded. So that was on file, and we could leave the country and we wouldn't have to come back to give our testimony. And when we were there, our lawyer started to explain to the judge, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something like, the man who attacked me believed that he had some sort of supernatural ability. And the judge interrupted him and said that, this is the judge talking, that when the judge was younger, his grandmother had taught him how to read tea leaves to be able to predict the future. and he warned our lawyer not to badmouth that type of belief. And so that was a very surreal moment sitting there in the courtroom, and my face is very badly burned, and my hand is all wrapped up. And that moment, I kind of realized how different of a system they have there. And so this is, it's been almost a year since it happened, and there's really not been much movement legally. We do have lawyers that we trust in the Dominican Republic. They're really great. They're local lawyers there, but it's just a slow system. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure when anything is actually going to happen. So
it's a different culture, a different world.
Yeah, it is a different world. But at the same time, I'm not really pursuing much. I mean, I'm not out for vengeance. I don't know. I don't know what I want from it. I just know that it's not. It can't be okay to do that. It can't be okay to just set somebody on fire, and then pretend like it didn't happen. But I don't know. It's a very.
Got things going on though. You know.
Yeah, the last year of my life has been the strangest year of my life so far. So knock on wood, I guess.
To have been through such a imaginably grueling experience and get through that. I think I speak on behalf of everyone that's going to be watching this. We're all so pleased to see that you pulled it through and you're back out there and kicking it and still making your dream happen. It's great.
Sooner than I think anyone assumed it would be. I mean, I'm sure no more than you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Well, it's one of those things. It's so strange. It's still surreal and it's still hard to process. And I still have moments where you kind of have flashbacks, and it's just a strange thing to even try to cope with. But what blew me away was a couple of things. We didn't really want to release information about it when it happened. We were kind of forced into that position because of the fact that we were having trouble getting the arrest warrant issued for the guy that did it. And so we were kind of forced into the position of putting out the video and the photos and a press release to build the international pressure so we could get our embassy involved and get some pressure to get the guy arrested. And the Associated Press picked it up, and it went all over the world, and I was shocked and humbled by the response. I mean, not just from magicians in the magic community, but people who weren't magicians at all. I mean, it was really, I started to get these terribly touching emails from other people that had been attacked, other people who had been burned, and they would include photos and stories, and it was just some of the most touching moments of my life came from seeing the outpouring of support on Twitter and Facebook and the email that I received after that happened. It was just really tremendous and overwhelming. Yeah, so let's...
There's a lot of love for you coming in on the comments bar. If any of you got questions, do fire away. For anyone that might have tuned in, do you want to just quickly give a quick recap on what this is about?
So if you just tuned in, we're talking about something that happened in the Dominican Republic, and I don't think I need to recap it, but if you Google Houchin Dominican Republic, I'm sure you'll learn all you need to.
But with regards to the single needle,
needle. So
didn't quite get that.
So I think I just saw a note somewhere back here that the full trailer is officially up. I think they had posted that a minute ago, but then there was a problem with it. So I think that's up.
It's out now?
I don't know. Is it?
Is it out now?
We should look.
Can someone tell us? Hang on.
We should find out.
Should we buy it?
Yeah, why not?
I wonder what the delay is.
Let's take a look. I should know this.
You should know this.
I don't know.
Wayne Houchin.
So what happens when you click that? Does it show up? You can add it to cart. All right, so I think A Single Needle is officially released. I think you head on over to Ellusionist.
Officially released and a special deal, I think, probably just for now.
And I'm really happy about this.
Pre-order special deal.
Yeah, we decided to do kind of a special price for the pre-order for it.
It's a great price as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, really happy about it. And that was kind of tricky to find the right price because you don't want.
You don't know how. Yeah. Because there's no. Yeah.
I don't want everybody out there doing this. But at the same time, it's.
I want to get it out there.
You want to get it out there, but
No, but I mean, definitely, I would recommend going pre-order.
Yeah, I mean,
such a good deal.
Pre-order is nice.
So, but it's actually out on the 19th.
Yeah, it's going to ship on the 19th, and I think Ellusionist has a lot of really exciting things in store that is going to be coming up around the 19th, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. I can't say. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know.
All I honestly don't know. All you know is that something's happening.
All I know is that something is happening, and I'm just glad that I get to be a part of that. So November 19th is going to be a very exciting day. But A Single Needle is available for pre-order right now at a special price, and I'm really excited. I think you guys are going to like it, and I'm really happy to share it with you. So let me check back here.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Yes, you absolutely can.
Is that okay? Sorry, guys. I know you have a million questions, but I want to know who your biggest influence was. I know, I'm sure now, being a magician, you must have hundreds.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, from when you started, what was that one person when you first got into magic that you just went, wow?
Well, I think, that's tough. I mean, it was a couple of people. My dad showed me my first trick, and that was amazing.
Was he a magician? Or?
Yeah, hobbyist. He never performed, but I think like a lot of people, he really got into it, and it kind of became a family tradition to watch David Copperfield on TV, because back then, every year Copperfield had a special, and it was just, I remember counting down.
Was it close up?
Yeah. So my dad, one of the first tricks is he took a bill, folded it up, and unfolded it, and changed to a 20, and then he made it change back, and it's just such a magical thing to be a kid and see that.
Yeah, wow.
Why can't I have nicer toys? If you can do that,
I don't want that Thomas the Tank Engine. Come on.
No, but I did get into Houdini very early on.
Because I know I was lucky enough to see one of your talks just recently. I went to your lecture.
Yes, the lecture I did here in London.
And it was amazing. Yeah. And you talked of Houdini. He's quite an influence on a lot of the things that you did, like the routine with the cards and things was great. I'll fix this while you
So yeah, I got into Houdini at a very early age. I think I was 12 years old when I picked up his biography from Ken Silverman, I think. I was that age.
I've got an English.
So, okay, cool. We're just sorting out a power situation here. So, I got into that at a very young age, and Houdini was really kind of an inspiration. He's such a larger-than-life figure, and not only was he amazing at the kind of escapes and the image that he created of himself, but he did this fantastic magic that to read about as a kid. I mean, it was just he was such a larger-than-life figure that was really a big inspiration for me when I was younger.
Something I find fascinating that you mentioned is that he did card tricks and things like that, which I guess people didn't know. I didn't, I just assumed he only ever did the big.
No, he was the king of cards. Harry Houdini, king of cards. He didn't spell it with a Z. I want to just say, king of cards. I don't think. Just throwing that out there. So nowadays, I have a lot of different people that inspire me, and I'm fortunate enough to work with many of them. Seeing anybody that's passionate about what they do and seeing them do that's an inspiration. As far as performers go, people like Darren Brown, Andy Nyman, my friends Aaron Fisher, Lee Asher, Helder and Derek doing Nothing to Hide right now in New York. It's such a fantastic show. I've got to give them a little bit of a plug. I went and saw their show in Los Angeles, and God, it was really just fantastic. It's such a great show, so beautifully written, wonderful creative card magic that doesn't seem like card magic. It's really worth seeing. If you're in New York, I highly recommend you go see Nothing to Hide. But then Vinny DePonto, Matt Holtzclaw. There's so many different talented guys out there that are doing really interesting things, and I'm just so excited to know them and be able to see it. But then here, working on this show, I'm working with some really great guys. There's our director, Atoll. There's so many similarities between him and kind of my magician friends. He's a fantastic director, but outside of this kind of big stuff that he's brought in to do, like this series, he's working on his own movie. It's kind of a self-funded thing, and to hear him talk about it and hear how passionate he is about bringing the story to life that he wrote years ago. And it's just exciting for me to be around people that are creative and that are kind of struggling and trying to bring their creations to life in whatever way they can. So nowadays, that's where a lot of the inspiration comes from. If I had superpowers, what would they be? The ability to... I just thought of a really lame one. I really want to say like turn invisible or fly, but it's been so cold on set that the ability to just be warm.
Actually, I was going to say it's really not this cold here at the Hippodrome. It's actually really, really hot. But
I'm from California, so
he insists on wearing a coat and a scarf.
You know, so it's been cold, so I...
That superpower doesn't surprise me.
So Wayne, a single needle.
Yes.
Say you're working a gig, strolling around. At which moment, what time of the night, would you implement a single needle?
I think
something you start off with. Is it a closer?
No, I personally think a single needle would work as a closer. I may be wrong about that, but for a walk-around situation, I think there are a few things that you can do to follow that up. You know, swallowing a needle and fishing it out is such a strange, bizarre, surreal thing. I'm not sure what could top that. I mean, even thread, as crazy and shocking as that is, I think thread in a way seems, and I'm just trying to work out my thoughts on this, in a way it almost feels more plausible than a single needle. Does that make sense? Because with the thread, you're kind of...
I think it does.
It seems like an impossible feat, and it seems crazy, and people absolutely freak out when they see it, but it seems plausible that the thread somehow comes up and might come out. That seems plausible.
Yeah.
But when you swallow a needle and then somehow tie it onto a piece of string with your stomach, it has the feeling of being plausible. It doesn't look like a magic-y thing, but it seems absolutely insane and so impossible that it's just kind of hard to wrap your head around how that could even happen. So I think it'd be hard to follow that close up. If you had a full show, though, on stage, it depends on what your other material is. In my show, Moments of Insanity, I've got the whole show kind of has an arc, and it builds to this moment that kind of ties and sums the whole show up. And a single needle just doesn't quite fit for the closer. So it's not in the middle. It's kind of in the second half of the show.
Depends.
So yeah, I think it depends. Yeah, I think it depends on your situation. Yeah. Let me see what other things we have here.
Someone asked if you'd read the Bill Kalush book.
The Bill Kalush book on Houdini. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard a lot of really great things. It's on my list. I love to read, so it is on my list. Here's a good question. How long does it take to set up for the performance, and can you set up multiple performances? Yes, you can absolutely set up multiple performances. I think the easiest way to do that would be to have a couple of different spools of thread. That would make the setup easier. But the setup itself, I can do it in less than 2 minutes. I haven't actually timed myself, but maybe even less than that, maybe less than a minute. Once you know it, it's not terribly complicated. You kind of do it and you're done. It's not something that causes too much pain or trouble. It's not like thread. Those of you that are familiar with thread, you know that the setup for that can be a bit involved, I think is the good word to use. This is much, much simpler than that. And I think at this point I'm going to have to sign off. This has been a lot of fun, and I feel like I could keep going for another hour. But here in London, it's just after midnight, and I've got to be up in less than 5 hours. I've got an early call time tomorrow. It's our last day on set filming for Breaking Magic, the Magic of Science. So it's a big day, and it's going to be a long day. So I've got to make my way back to my flat and get a couple hours of sleep before the car shows up to pick us up. But I really feel like I could continue talking. So to recap, A Single Needle, I really think you're going to enjoy it. It's now available at Ellusionist.com for pre-order. It's going to be shipping. Yeah, it's $29.95, $5 off between now and when it's available on November 19th. So head on over, take a look at the trailer. It's a fun trailer. Again, I'm really happy to work with my buddy Dana Houchin on this, who did a fantastic job with the edit and the music. So take a look. I hope you enjoy it. And I guess I'll see you guys on Facebook and Twitter. I want to thank Laura and, of course, Ollie.
Glad you could make it.
For helping bring this together and make it such an event. Thank you guys so much. I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Take care.